What's up, everyone? Welcome to 2019. Welcome to the first vlog of 2019, and it's gonna be a talker. So if you're not up for talking, and if you're not up here for talking about editing, talking about how to get decent photos out of the ones that you take out of really simple tech, then catch you in the next one. All good. Keep moving. But anyway, moving along, look, I got a message on Instagram a couple of days ago, and I get them all the time, where people are always asking me how they get decent photos even though they've got crappy equipment. And to be perfectly honest, I am the first one to admit that I have absolutely crappy equipment. The camera that we're shooting this on is a 10-year-old Nikon SLR. I have an iPhone 6, I have a GoPro Hero 5 and a DJI Mavic, which is a great drone, but it's not a specialist camera by any means. So I wanted to start by saying two things. One, if you take a photo with any of your cameras and you're not stoked with it straight away, don't delete it. I mean, unless it's blurry or whatever, but like, don't delete it because you can edit it to something that you're much happier with. And two, don't let bad equipment, perceived bad equipment, be the reason you're not taking photos and not enjoying getting out there and shooting. So let me give you some examples. I want to take you through some before and afters of photos that I've taken that initially are nothing to look at. They're not very interesting at all. In a lot of cases, you can barely tell what it is. Let's see what we edited them to and see if we can't get a better idea of what's possible with some basic editing in a fairly nice program like Adobe Lightroom, so that you can start to have a look at things like this and get better photos out of your camera. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the first example. I've got Adobe Lightroom Classic open here. Basic editor, it's not Photoshop. It's a baby version of Photoshop, but allows you to do a lot of really simple edits. Very accessible, very easy to use. Great little tool. And let's start with the first example. For anybody that thinks they need to go and spend a few $1,000s on a DSLR to get better photos, take a look at this photo. Now, this photo was shot on a recent holiday in Bali at sunrise, and as you can see, out of the camera, looks terrible. Absolutely terrible. But that's okay because we have an editor. So you can see really quickly, if you look down the right hand side, these are all the different adjustments that you can make here. And from that you can really change the way the photo works. And if we look across the top here, you've got a bunch of different filters. You've got a radial filter, a graduated filter, some photo fix tools. Very, very easy to use tools. So let's have a look at what the result was after a bit of editing. So I spent about 10 minutes on this, and this is a photo now that I'm actually happy to share with you. So the camera itself did the job of capturing the image, and it's really been the editing process that has been the way I got the best out of it. So for those of you that think the DSLR is the only way to go, it's not going to fix all of your problems. You really need to have a look at how you edit the photo. And for those of you that don't have the money to buy a great DSLR, you can still have good photos this way. All right. Basic subscription to Adobe Lightroom. It's about $15 a month and comes with all the about 5 other Adobe products as well. Money well spent. Much cheaper than thousands of dollars on a camera. Right, moving on. Next example, let's have a look at this one that I shot with the GoPro, the Hero 5 Black, which you can see here, not a very good quality image straight out of the camera, as you can see, but definitely a good starting point. So with that, the GoPro itself took a photo down here at Currumbin Rocks, and the photo itself is from behind the wave, and as you can see, it's quite a dull photo. It's quite lifeless. There's a lot of haze in the water. It's not great, but with some minor adjustments, if you have a look at the right hand side of the toolbar here, as I click to the next one, this is the change you can get out of it. So as you can see, add a bit of color, drop a bit of contrast, get some clarity in there, and perfect. Now, look, let's be honest, I'm not saying this is the best photo that's ever been taken, but it's certainly a great step from where it started, and a good example of how you can get a decent photo out of a fairly simple machine or device like a GoPro. Moving on to the next one, anyone that says they can't take a good photo with an iPhone 6, I disagree. So look at this one. This photo was taken every time I see train tracks. Every time I feel as though I need to go over there and take photos of them. And all I had with me this one day was my iPhone 6. So ran over the train tracks, got in position, took this shot, and to be perfectly honest, it's very underwhelming. And I get that. But I know that with a little bit of editing, a little bit of creativity, this can be a whole different scene with something that's a little bit more exciting and tells a little bit more of the tale of what I actually saw while I was standing in this spot, and something that I'll be able to remember forever. So here we go, clicking the edits, post edit, and you can see here, completely different photo. We've got a nice highlight in the foreground. We've been able to bring up the shadows across the left hand side on that red bank, and we've been able to add some detail and contrast into the sky to make the sky a lot more interesting as well. So really simple stuff. You can see on the right hand side here all of the different adjustments that I've made, and to be perfectly honest, I feel personally it's a lot better photo than it was when it started out from an iPhone. Now, people think you need to go and spend thousands of dollars on drones to get a decent photo. Now, I went and spent probably more money than I should have on this DJI Mavic Air, and I'll tell you right now, the photos that come out of it are extremely underwhelming. Take a look at this as an example. This is a sunset I took up in Childers a couple of weeks ago, and I'll tell you right now, the actual scene versus the photo is completely far and away different. So this needed some work to be something that was worth sharing, and something that I wanted to be proud of, and something that actually captured the moment that was there. So having a quick look at this, you can see here's the adjustments and here's the after, and as you can see, it's a completely different photo. So there's quite a few bit of work on this. This is probably the most heavily edited photo of the examples that I've given you. There's filters across the top, across the sky. There's filters across the bottom, across the ground. And there's also a lot of different adjustments in terms of shadows, in terms of whites, in terms of clarity and hazing, and exposure as well. So this one probably took me about 10 minutes to edit. Not a long time, but I do think every time I get into this program it gets a lot faster and I get the result I'm looking for much quicker as I learn my way around it. So 10 minutes will become 5 in future, I'm sure. So look, that's kind of what I wanted to show you, really simply how easy it can be to take a terrible photo that is really disappointing out of the camera, put it into a very simple editing program, and really get a great result out of it. So I want you to take two things away from this. One is, great devices don't necessarily take great photos, a la the DJI Mavic. Terrible devices are still capable of good photos, and don't be disappointed if something comes out of the camera that's not perfect. I don't take photos out of the camera that are ever the way I want them. That's always the starting point that which I take into post-processing and make it to what I want it to be. So look, thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this little insight into a little bit of behind the scenes of my process and what kind of gear I use. If there's anything more you want to know, drop a comment below, and I can definitely dig into that in another video. And thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button if that's something that you felt like doing, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you.